KEFI is a micro-cap on AIM in the UK, which is about to start development in Ethiopia of the first modern mine development in the country. We are unusual in a couple of ways. One is that nearly all of the equity capital required for this development and for our work in Saudi Arabia is provided by our project level partners, not by us or our shareholders. And secondly, we have what you'd call pole position in both Ethiopia and Saudi Arabia as a result of having been on the ground in this area, which is called the Arabian Nubian Shield, for 10 years now. So whilst the market, if you like, the capital market for microcaps and junior mining has been in the doldrums, to put it mildly, we've been on the ground building a platform and a pole position in two countries that are now taking off in terms of their priority for mining. And secondly, we've developed partnerships with very strong local partners in both of those countries that are actually putting up the money for the next stages. As a value proposition, if you like, there's probably two critical things to say. One is that the market capitalisation of the company is 1/6 of the NPV of the bankable project that's about to start in the next month at $1,300 gold, and at today's gold price it's 1/11 of that number of our beneficial interest in the NPV. Plus, after 3 years of having shelved exploration or postponed exploration, we've just started drilling in Saudi Arabia on a very large VMS target. So both prongs, if you like, are coming alive as we speak. And if the stock market, if you like, plays catch up, it will start to reflect milestones as we report them over the coming months. We're focused on the Arabian Nubian Shield, and why is that so? Well, it's because it's the same geology as where most of the gold comes from in Australia and many other metals that are produced. And it's the same geology in an area which hasn't been attacked. Australia was at its lowest ebb for gold production in the mid-70s, and today's the number 2 in the world. Perth in Australia is, let's say, the equivalent of Silicon Valley for IT. It's the equivalent for mining. So that major world centre for mining, one of the handful of centres in the world for mining, for all the IP and other skill sets and capacities one applies to mining, was built as a result of what happened in the same rocks as apply in the Arabian Nubian Shield in Perth, in Western Australia. It hasn't happened here yet, but it will happen. It hasn't happened for geopolitical reasons, not because of the geology, which is why you find Australians crawling all over this part of the world where they get the chance. And Barrick has come into Saudi, and now Newmont has made a major discovery in Ethiopia. Just to give you 2 examples of who's coming in, it's one of perhaps the only major grassroots exercise that Newmont has on its books. They've made a major VMS discovery in the north of Ethiopia recently, and I know that 6 drill rigs are being shipped into the country to attack that on a drill out for them. As I say, we've been on the ground building a position, both in terms of pegging ground, in terms of intellectual property, in terms of forming relationships, and now proceeding with the first modern mine development in Ethiopia. The financing structure of the company highlights a couple of things. If you can look through all the charts, what you're really seeing there is that little micro-cap KEFI, in a structural sense, has powerful partners in Ethiopia. Atar is the vehicle of one of the major families of Saudi Arabia, the Al Rashids, very strong over here in New York as well with their investments. And in Ethiopia, we have banks and insurance companies through their investment company, ANS Mining, formed specifically to invest in our project, and the government of Ethiopia, the only project it's investing in for mining in the country, is ours. So if you were to pick up the phone and ask in Saudi Arabia about KEFI, or in Ethiopia about KEFI, you'd hear, oh yeah, they're the Australian and African technical guys who do all the work for the Al Rashids, or yeah, they're the guys who are putting the Tulu Kapi project together. That'll be the first modern mine for decades. So we're the sort of the guys who are doing it first up in those countries. Ethiopia's transformed over the last 18 months, and in fact the Prime Minister got a Nobel Peace Prize last week, which you might have noticed. And on the other hand, because we've been there so long, we were actually held up for a couple of years whilst there were calls for democracy. And in the last 18 months, because of what's happening, as you can see on that slide, we've been given a kick along, if you like, by the wave of positive effort that's going on in the country and the support we're getting in the country. We're in Western Ethiopia because it's where most of the gold has come from historically. It's been mining there for thousands of years. Our particular project, Tulu Kapi, is not an artisanal style project like most of the others are, that you can't actually see the gold particles. It's microscopic, the gold particles. However, being in that part of Ethiopia means that we're in elephant country in that sense. We have a 1 million ounce reserve, nearly 2 million ounce resource, and this will start up at 140,000 ounces per annum, with construction starting next month. That's what it looks like. That hill, we'll basically mine that hill and a bit below it, and that's where the 1 million ounces is, and down further is the underground deposit, which we'll get to in due course. We're very strong on the social licensing. We've emphasised the fact that a great management team and a great plan on top of poor social licence is a poor company. A strong management team and strong plan on top of a strong social licence is an unbeatable company. And we have powerful social licence there, and the community is completely in support of what we're doing, which is why the government is keen to invest and make this a showcase. In Saudi Arabia, I don't know if any of you have followed what's been going on there as well. I know there's some shocking headlines from time to time about things to do with Saudi Arabian security or whatever. But on the ground, I was there last weekend and I'm there regularly, on the ground, what's happening is transformational. You see it with your eyes every time one visits. And a leader in his 30s who's dragging the country into the 21st century, literally. And the exploration potential of Saudi Arabia is mind-blowing. That's not an exaggeration. There are things there on the ground that would have been drilled to pieces if they'd been in a more mining mature jurisdiction. And they've been waiting there untested because we weren't welcome, put it bluntly. Saudi Arabia is too wealthy to welcome foreign miners to exploit the wealth of the country, but now it's opening up. And where we're working, we have a dominant position on a world-class VMS belt, which dwarfs what actually is the largest contributor to the economy of Eritrea across the water. We have passed the stage of having spent $60 million, and we're about to start construction on a fully funded development project. And we have a large pipeline of things our partners want us to pursue, and we'll put up most of the money for. In summary, we're a micro cap capped at $8 million with a beneficial interest in an NPV of 6 to 11 times that, depending upon which gold price you want to work with. We have reactivated drilling, and we're funded by our project partners for the work we're doing. That's a very brief introduction to KEFI Minerals. Thank you very much.